UVARs cast.
Customer experience, also known as CX, has become a trending topic. We asked CX experts to explain what CX is and to share their views on mapping and optimizing customer journeys and what CX trends they're noticing in the mid-market. In this discussion, you'll hear from B4B Solutions, Seidor, and Dunn Solutions, who are all part of the United VARs Global Alliance and key members of the United VARs Centre of Excellence for CX.
This is Javier Alonso speaking. I'm leading the practice on customer experience in Seidor Digital globally. Customer experience refers to the feeling that an end consumer has towards a brand. This feeling is built in all the touch points, either digital or physical ones.
I would say also, my name is Bill Dunn. I'm president of Dunn Solutions. We're a United VARs partner here in the United States. People are now looking at this as a new way of establishing the relationship with the customer. So this year, we are seeing a lot of interest in digitizing that customer experience.
Hi, my name is Lukas Kerschbaum. I'm the managing director at B4B Solutions. We are a United VARs partner in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We see ourselves as a full service provider, and I think that's the way we should also attack, or that's the conversation that we have with our customers when we talk about the customer journey. Now, in the old days, you had this, we all know about the marketing funnel where you attract attention and you sort of guide your customers to a certain product, and then that would lead to a purchase. We've heard multiple touch points. We heard the term omni-channel these days, and that's where the customer journey has also evolved over the years. When we talk to customers, we break it down into 5 areas. The customer journey, we say there's an attention area where you're trying to attract attention towards a new product on various marketing channels, traditional ones, analog ones, but also obviously digital ones, newsletters, search engine optimizations or search ads. Then you go into the consider phase. And while you are in this marketing space, you are trying to get as much information on your customer as possible. So you're really trying to build this 360-degree view, understand the customer, and to really serve them the right content in the right time. When you go into phase 3, the buying part, this is where, again, omni-channel comes into play, because the customer is in the driver's seat and the customer actually makes the decision on whether they purchase the products or services themselves, or whether they do this through a self-service portal, whether they walk into the store, whether it's guided through a sales agent on the phone or on site with an iPad supported. So you have these multiple ways along the journey. And then you enter phase 4, the service part, which is essentially critical when we talk in the B2B space. So the purchase of a product, that's the kickstart to a long-lasting relationship with the customer. Because in B2B area, especially in manufacturing, for example, this is when services, when maintenance, when hopefully not a lot of repair works, but repair works kick in, where you need to provide optimal service to your customer in order for them to enter into the loyalty phase, which is the final stage where your customer becomes the advocate for your business, for your products, for your services. So those are the 5 stages that we are looking at with our customers along this customer journey.
When we talk to customers, we see that in many times the journey is handled by different parts of the company. In other words, there's almost like these silos where marketing is typically involved in awareness, and and then it gets shifted over to sales, and then finally it's just shifted over to services. But the unfortunate part of this situation is that the customer itself doesn't always go directly from one stage to the next. And many times the customer will be in one stage, then they'll shift back to awareness, or they'll go back and forth. So what we're seeing now is that there's a bigger awareness now that we have to track the customer throughout this back and forth process. It's not quite so linear, and marketing and sales and service all need to be aware of what's going on with this customer. Nothing is more frustrating as a customer to be able to engage with, with sales when sales doesn't know that you are already a customer, or where sales is not aware that you've already asked these questions 6 times of the previous things, or that you've been to the website 500 times already. So the more information that can be shared, the better a company can service their customer. And I think what we've been telling our customers about this idea is our goal is not to sell specifically. Our goal is to assist the customer in their journey, to help them achieve their goal. And part of that goal is they buy some products, but they have a problem. We're trying to help them with the problem. We want them to achieve their goal. In order to do that, we need to help them on their journey.
And if I may add to that, Bill, for the customer, it should be, transparent, because they want to interact with a brand, they want to interact with a company, and they don't really care whether this is the marketing person that they're interacting, or the salesperson, or the service person. They just want to have this experience, and that's why we are living in the experience economy, that is seamless and has this 360-degree view of a customer.
A journey will be more effective the more personalized it is for the customer. So if you make me feel unique and special, and if you know my wishes and preferences, you can suggest accordingly to them. So that's what make the difference, right?
So there's not a one size fits all, and this uniqueness is supported by the fact that the customer is more and more in the driver's seat. And so the organization needs to be ready to serve that customer whenever, wherever they need. And if they decide to buy their spare parts at 3 a.m. in the morning, because otherwise they have sleepless nights, or because that's when the night shift is happening, then you as a supplier, you as a manufacturer, should be able to facilitate that expectation.
Yeah, I agree. I think what we're seeing as well, and this is really important in the B2B space, I think the B2B customers are maybe a bit behind the B2C customers. The B2B space has been heavily relying on the sales team and the sales team to do many parts of the customer journey. And what we are seeing is a shift in the new customer, that they would like to spend more time doing their own investigation, their own learning, and before they talk to a salesperson. So there's a shift in the way that the customer is purchasing. And if you don't accommodate that shift and you don't follow and track it, it's challenging to be as successful, because the customer may end up not enjoying the experience of talking to a salesperson. And so many of the customers really want to do their own due diligence, and then they want to be sent to a salesperson once they're ready to ask more in-depth questions. And it's important that we help that customer when they're doing their due diligence. And that may start on the website, that may end up in a digital catalog with lots of information, but then it will transition perhaps to a salesperson on the phone or via email, but maybe at a later stage than in the previous situations where the customer directly started with the salesperson.
Just take an example of how we are purchasing cars these days. I used to walk into the car dealership and then sit down with the guy, and he would open up the catalog, and then we would go through the models. Yeah. What do I do now these days? I spend a lot of time online configuring, comparing. I'm going through websites. I'm researching. I'm asking my friends, online, offline, and then I'm going probably with a 95% ready to buy car, just to maybe feel the leather in the dealership, to get some last bits of information that I couldn't find online. So that salesperson on the other end, they need to be super prepared when I come in. Yeah. So if I set up a meeting with them, they need to know everything what I've already done, because if they start from scratch with me talking about the different BMW models that they have, that's not the experience that I'm expecting. And so not only is the customer more in the driver's seat, but he's also much more equipped, informed than he or she used to be in the past.
I do see some trends in that the mid-market is getting more sophisticated. Through the use of technology, they are able to extend their sales force and their reach a lot further than they were without technology. So in the website, as the website and the content gets richer on the website, that reduces the need for inside sales teams to answer questions that are very commonly asked. We have a customer that is selling food products, and each product has a lot of certificates and other things about the food, and they were taking maybe at least 6 people every day answering phone calls and faxing and emailing documentation to potential customers. Well, now this content is now available on their e-commerce catalog, so the customer can go to that catalog and they can find the information they need by themselves, sort of in a self-service model, and that's reducing the overhead from the inside team, and they can focus on more strategic types of activities. So we're seeing that it serves this trend of leveraging digital is now coming down to the mid-market. And the benefit is it's a win-win-win. It's a win for the customer because it's easier for them to get the information they want. It's a win for the company because they're spending less on people interacting with customers on things that are fairly straightforward. And it's also a win for the company because those people can be reallocated to do more strategic things and actually create a better relationship with the customer by helping the customer out on strategic items.
So if I may add at this point, just 2 examples of trends or technologies that we see. And I think in general, the move into the cloud and this new technology is becoming more and more commodity certainly helps mid-sized organizations. So when you think of Internet of Things, it's not a concept that only applies to large enterprises which can afford, large sums of IT investment, but it is affordable. And we have a customer's, producer of hospital beds, and they equip their beds with IoT sensors. And so they would know, which bed is in use. They could identify, is this an intensive care bed? Is this a regular bed? What kind of features does that bed provide? And that helped hospitals to be, in real time, know exactly the status, the inventory, which is, totally critical and crucial over the last 2 years. The other technology that we see has come more and more into play is things like chatbots. Bill was referring to customers doing their own research, doing their own business in their own time. Chatbots are a great way of providing that 80-20 or applying that 80-20 rule. 80% of the requests that are easily answered, that are around, where's my order, what's the status, can you provide me with a hotline phone number where I can reach XYZ, what's the status of my ticket. These are all things that are structured, that are readily available in the systems. So if you have an intelligent chatbot, use artificial intelligence, that can free up resources that can then help customers who have more complex issues, who have maybe chatted to a chatbot 3 times and have not reached a solution or have not reached a conclusion. So those are 2 very specific technologies that we applied with our customers that help them, to just raise expectations, become a more lean organization. And what's important for us is technology is not going to substitute people. I think it is going to help them. It's going to help them elevate them. It's going to help them run through boring and mundane tasks faster and provide customer service in sophisticated, complex scenarios to the customers in person. So really shift the attention from just checking the status of an order towards, helping out with a complex and a specific service request, for example.
Yeah, I also want to say that another example that we've seen is as part of understanding the full customer journey is the ability to start tracking the different touch points and storing that information in a centralized location. So if you have a centralized data store for all these touch points, now what you're taking is the different silos that are in the company, but allowing them to share that information. So if you know that people are looking at a particular category of product on the website and they're coming back over and over and over again, after a certain amount of coming back, you can automatically message them, either email or SMS message, or depending on the situation, if it's a key account, maybe you can automatically let the sales rep know that this person has been interested in looking at that particular product, and that can prompt a phone call. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to do a better job of understanding things. I'll say something at the whole other end of the journey, which Lukas mentioned, which is the services port. Typically, if somebody has an issue with a product or a service they purchase, they'll call up and they'll put in a trouble ticket or ask for help. Well, this also is part of the journey, and we need to track that as well. And if we see that somebody has a lot of issues with a particular thing or a lot of service tickets, that's also a flag. And we should maybe route that again back to somebody in the sales team to help them talk to that customer to identify what's going on. Maybe there's a broader issue. So unifying this data so that we can share the customer journey with all different parts of the company, and they all work together to make the customer happy.
And the worst thing that you want to do is have a sales rep rock up at a customer trying to sell them a new product and don't know that they have a long list of open tickets. Yeah. So I think it's a great example of a proper 360-degree view. Yeah, maybe, and just to maybe bring in an IT viewpoint here and some advice is that it's really critical to make a very conscious decision on a stable platform that allows to connect these. Bill was referring to the silos, because not a single vendor will be able to offer a solution for every single touch point or every single interaction point that customers are having. So be very, very much aware that you will need a strong foundation, a strong basis to connect these, marketing systems, newsletters, digital signage solutions that you have somewhere in place to provide that consistency across the end-to-end customer journey. I think that is critical, to not underestimate and to not think that you could easily stitch that all together to provide that consistent view for your customer, but also for your sales and for your service people.
If I'm a mid-sized corporate, I'm facing a lot of technologies. That's one thing. And the second thing is about data. And we are talking about different silos and how we need to gather all that data to better know what the customer is expecting. So if we take these two things in consideration, a lot of technical features and silos, you should be guided by some integrator partners that could somehow pick those technologies that could apply to your specific context. No, not everybody can embrace the whole technologies that they can see in the market. That's one thing. That's something that should be adapted to the technological context. That's two things to handle. And that's why the different integration partners makes sense in this case. The most important way to proceed, in my understanding, is that if you can split the project in different phases.
You're making a very good point, Javier, on breaking this up into digestible and sizable chunks. In my opinion, it's important that you have that big picture, that you have also from a technical side, but also from a process perspective, that you really understand the big picture. But then you also at the same time you break it down, because I think breaking it down from a risk management perspective, but also breaking it down from an adoption standpoint perspective, because let's not underestimate that this means a lot of change to an organization, and that change needs to be facilitated, that change needs to be managed, and you need to make sure that you might have the best, the best implementation, you have the perfect project, you have the best solution in place, but it's not being utilized. And that is one key advice that I'd like to give to the audience is, make sure you bring the right people into the mix, into the project early. Make sure you have beta versions, pilots. there's different ways of approaching this, and this might be different from organization to organization, but I think there should always be, early type engagement. We are living in a cloud world. The big benefit of cloud solutions is that you very quickly usually have something to work with. You can show people screens, you can have people play around with a solution, might be 80% ready, but they get a feeling, and let's not underestimate that positive spin that you could give by making sure that key people are involved in the project early, that work as spokespeople, as advocates then in the organization, because in the end you'll want to make sure that it's not only a successful IT project, but it's also a successful rollout into the organization that will then ultimately benefit from it.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing on top of what Lukas said. I just want to reiterate, I have had a number of conversations with people in IT or people in marketing or people in sales, and I was surprised to find that they're trying to do this project by themselves. And what is really important is we started the whole conversation with the customer journey. It's really important, if possible, get everybody in a single virtual or real room and just map out one or two customer journeys, just to start. Don't have to do everything. Just map out one or two customer journeys so that everybody is aware of how the customer interacts with each group on their customer journey. Because when we start implementing the technology, we do need the buy-in and the acceptance of the people to use the technology to be successful. And if somebody doesn't understand why they're entering data into a CRM, they will not understand why a marketing person may not understand why they need to trigger a campaign. If everybody is working in this silo, they may not understand the value. But when everybody's come together and they understand the customer journey, all of a sudden everything makes sense. And I think it will be a cultural success, not just a technology success. And I think this cultural success part is very important for the overall success of the company.
Thank you to Bill, Javier, and Lukas for explaining what CX is and how it can benefit mid-market organisations, and also for sharing their advice on what to look for in a CX provider and how organisations can best approach a CX project to ensure success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, my pleasure.